Hello and welcome back to Study Sessions. Now, picture this. On one side, an isolated island community braces itself against the full force of a storm. Roofs of their houses low, doors shut, hearts pounding as the wind claws at their walls. On the other, a young boy rows out across a calm, moonlit lake, and he's feeling powerful and free until a mountain seems to loom up from the darkness, silent but enormous, and his courage turns to something like fear. You've got two very different settings, two very different moments, and yet both poems ask the same question. What happens when humans come face to face with the overwhelming power of nature? Now, in Seamus Heaney's Storm on the Island, nature hammers and pounds at the senses. It's physical, it's violent. Something when you read the poem, you can almost feel it battering your skin. In Wordsworth's Prelude, though, nature attacks the imagination. It shakes the mind rather than the walls of your home. So while Heaney shows nature as a physical force that exposes and reveals human weakness, Wordsworth presents the power of nature as a spiritual force that can transform human thought. But both poets remind us that however clever, confident, or prepared we might feel, nature always has the final word. Okay, so we're going to start with a quick overview of Storm on the Island. And just a reminder that Seamus Heaney's poem is written as a dramatic monologue, and it's told through the collective voice of islanders who live face to face with some brutal, stormy weather. At first, they sound ready and confident. We are prepared, they say, almost proud of their sturdy homes and solid walls. But as the storm builds, that confidence, that hubris and arrogance maybe in the opening line, quite quickly unravels. The islanders become more uncertain, more fearful. And by the end of the poem, Heaney shows us that the true power of nature isn't just in how it can destroy, but in how it can make us as humans feel powerless, small, fragile, and exposed. Now, turning to the Prelude, Wordsworth's Prelude tells the story of a childhood experience that has stayed with the poet for life. It's a biographical episode. There's a young boy, presumably Wordsworth himself, who steals a boat and he rows across a silent lake. At first, he feels daring, maybe even heroic, but then a huge black mountain rises in front of him. It's not just frightening, it's overwhelming. And this encounter with the mountain leaves him changed. He becomes quieter, more thoughtful, aware that nature isn't just a playground for us to enjoy, but it has a vast power that can humble our human spirit. And it's through this moment that Wordsworth suggests that nature doesn't just shape the landscape, it actually shapes our soul, who we are, how we think about our place in the world. Now, we're going to turn now quickly to a comparison of the titles. Okay, so remember the general sequence is this. We compare both poems in relation to the question focus, the power of nature as it is for this homework. And once we've done that, we then move to a comparison of the titles. So we're going to be thinking about them because both of the titles give us some very interesting clues and ideas about the poet's intentions and purposes with each poem. So that title, Storm on the Island, it's blunt, isn't it? Storm on the Island. It's almost matter of fact. It tells us exactly what's coming. There's no mystery, there's no build-up. And I think it's a straightforwardness that reminds us of the practicality of the islanders. It's very plain speaking, not like the poem itself, no nonsense, but also vulnerable. And the word storm instantly brings tension and conflict. while island, think about island locations, it isolates them, suggesting exposure, vulnerability, loneliness. There's no escape on an island when nature turns against you. So Seamus Heaney's title already creates that atmosphere of defiance mixed with fear. Humans preparing for something they can never truly control. Now contrast that with the prelude. The word prelude means an introduction or an opening. It's often a word that's used in the first movement of a piece of music. So we're talking about the start of something really big and important in Wordsworth's life. We're looking at, in this poem, in this extract from the prelude or excerpt, a moment that's changed and formed who Wordsworth has grown into as an adult. It's a word, the prelude, that suggests something grand, reflective, and developmental, part of his growing up. It's also a title that captures Wordsworth's purpose perfectly. What he's doing is he's looking back on the early experiences that have shaped him as a man and as a poet. So while Heaney traps us in the chaos of a single storm, what Wordsworth does with the title is different. He invites us into a journey of memory and of growth. One title is immediate and violent. The other is reflective and almost philosophical. And it's a contrast that defines both poems. Okay, Storm on the Island, the beginning. Heaney starts this poem with that very confident, almost hubristic declaration. We are prepared, we build our houses squat. And that phrase, we are prepared, feels almost defiant, doesn't it? Like the islanders are standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to face the elements. We have that short, clipped rhythm. It gives the line a sense of firmness and pride and solidity. But that adjective, squat, it makes their homes sound low, heavy, sturdy, practical, rather than beautiful. It's as though they're building not just against the wind, but against fear itself. So already Heaney's captured a key tension. We often believe as humans that we can control nature through strength and through the design of our buildings, for example, but that sense of control is temporary. It's never going to last. The storm's not even started, and yet the poem already hints that this confidence is soon going to be collapsing. And we turn to the middle of the poem, wonderful quotation, the arrival of the violence of the storm. It spits like a tame cat turned savage. It's one of the poem's most memorable lines because the sea here is compared to a domestic pet, something friendly, familiar, maybe even comforting, but suddenly it turns wild. And that quick change from tame to savage captures how nature can flip without warning. It's almost like a betrayal. The islanders thought they knew the sea, but they never really did. And it's a simile that makes a storm feel personal. It's not just weather, but it's a living thing like a cat with moods and feelings and emotions. So the tone here isn't just fearful, it's humbled. Nature reminds human beings, that no matter how intelligent or strong we might like to think we are, we're kind of guests on this planet. We're not masters of nature. And so that final line, as a storm dies down, something eerie, strange, odd, unsettling remains. Strange, Heaney writes, it is a huge nothing that we fear. And that oxymoron, huge nothing, it perfectly captures the sense of invisible power, the idea that the storm's most frightening quality is that we can't actually see it. So it's not the destruction itself, but it's actually the anticipation, the mental pressure of waiting for something we know in a sense is going to be unstoppable. Heaney's speaker in the poem realizes that their fear is as powerful as the storm, maybe even more so. Nature's power then is both external, the storm outside, and internal, the fear it makes us feel. And so that final word, the last word of the poem, fear, leaves us with silence. It isn't resolved. We're not kind of peaceful and relaxed at the end of the poem. We're left with this unsettling knowledge that nature No matter what we might like to think as human beings, nature always wins. Okay, so let's think about the sequence of our essay, our response. We've gone overview, comparing both poems overall. How do they overall depict the power of nature? Then we've shifted to comparison of the titles. Once we've compared the title of Storm on the Island and Prelude, we've now shifted to individual analysis of Storm on the Island. Guess what? We're now going to shift to our exploration and analysis of the Prelude, starting at the beginning. So we're going to turn to Wordsworth's poem. And early in the poem, the speaker describes his feelings as he takes the boat, as he steals the boat. He describes it as troubled pleasure. Such a small phrase, but it's doing a heck of a lot of work. It's an oxymoron that captures brilliantly excitement mixed with guilt. That rush of doing something you shouldn't really. So the boy feels powerful, almost heroic, but that word troubled hints that deep down he knows, one, he's doing something wrong, and two, nature is going to teach him a lesson. It's going to somehow correct him. And at this point, up to this point, nature seems gentle. It seems welcoming, but it's already beginning to teach him a lesson that pride and daring will always be humbled by nature. Then comes a turning point. A huge peak, black and huge. This is the moment that everything changes. The mountain rises like a living creature, silent, dark, and immense. And that repetition, huge peak, black and huge, it slows the line down, forces us as readers to feel the weight and the power. It's like the mountain is judging the boy and the boy's arrogance. And Wordsworth's language here shifts from light and a sense of freedom to shadow and fear. Nature has become a kind of monstrously frightening teacher, and it's teaching humility. It's humbling the speaker, humbling, of course, Wordsworth himself. Now, this is where we're going to introduce that romantic idea of the sublime, that mix, that crucial mix of awe, wow, huge peak, black and huge, look at the size of it, but mixed with terror when you realize how small you are in the face of something so vast and eternal and, in a sense, unknowable. And then finally, the end. Wordsworth describing the long-lasting, lifelong-lasting effect of this moment, a trouble to my dreams. It's such a powerful ending. That word trouble, linking back to earlier in the poem, troubled pleasure suggests lingering disturbance, something that's not going to fade. Even when that sense of physical danger has passed, the mental impact stays with him for the rest of his life. The experience has entered his mind. It's this critical turning point. It has reshaped how he sees the world. So in a sense, nature's not just punished him. Maybe it's not punished him at all. It's educated him. It's turned fear into reflection and showing that real power works not just on the body, but on the mind and the imagination. So to wrap up, what is it that connects these two poems? Thinking about the power of nature. Well, both Heaney and Wordsworth explore how nature has the power to show us, teach us, remind us of the limits of human power. Heaney's Storm reminds us that we can build, we can prepare, we can defend, but we'll never truly conquer the natural world. On the other hand, Wordsworth's Mountain shows that even the briefest of moments, a moment in a boat on a lake as a child, that brief moment in nature can transform how we think and how we feel for the rest of our lives. Heaney focuses on physical fear and survival. Wordsworth, though, explores spiritual growth and reflection. And nature has the power to cause both physical fear and survival in Storm on the Island and spiritual growth and reflection in The Prelude. Both poets leave us as readers humbled. We're aware by the end of both poems that nature's power, its greatest strength, isn't just in what it can destroy, but in how it changes us. So as always, thank you so much for listening to this Study Sessions episode. I hope you found it useful. As you're listening, we should be jotting down those key quotations, some key ideas, key points of analysis, key points of comparison, and it's going to really, really help us, hopefully, with this week's homework. And remember, great literary analysis is not about listing techniques. It's about unpicking, deconstructing, pulling apart how the poems and the poets make us feel as readers and what they are revealing about the human experience. And with that, I'll see you next time.